In today's video, we talk about if you should track your veggies.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, Tampa, Florida. Yes, there is a deadly hurricane headed towards us, but I don't care. I want to talk to my family, my peeps, get some videos out. That's something to talk about today. And it's the calm before the storm. Don't know where it's going to go yet, but here in Tampa it is sunny and nice out. Of course, everyone's frantic, but we are going to be safe where I live. We got a good situation. Bought a house with a generator. Didn't think much of it when I bought it. Kind of thought it was silly, but all of a sudden, not so silly that we have a generator that runs our whole house. So don't worry about old Coach Paul. He gonna be alright. Now, let's talk about the topic at hand, which is veggie tracking, macro tracking, dieting. That's what we're doing here, folks, right? Like, we're talking about tracking our diet. We're talking about goals. So I want to talk about, should you track your veggies? Because as a coach who gets a lot of inquiries from people that worked with other coaches, there's a lot of different styles, and I'm not knocking it. In fact, sometimes I like things that other people do and I incorporate it and I say, hey, that's a good idea. But guess what? When someone comes to me and say, hey, these are my macros, but I get unlimited veggies. Well, I gotta ask you, just how many veggies are you having? You see, vegetables have quite a few calories, and although they're kind of low impact to your blood sugar, which is what most coaches tell you that they're untracked for a reason, that's the reason they're going to tell you. Because when you digest a vegetable, it takes quite a while for those carbohydrates and things to hit the bloodstream, so they don't really impact your blood sugar. And so I think a lot of people feel like, well, they can't be stored as fat because the way they digest, well, that is bull crap. Yes, vegetables can certainly be stored as fat. It's probably a lot more difficult to get enough food volume eating vegetables, but for someone who's in a really specific fat loss phase, a really lean state, it can hold up progress. The real issue with not tracking veggies, so as you can see, I'm kind of going in a direction here, kind of leaning towards the track your veggies, but let me talk about why, and I'll talk about some situations why maybe you should not track them. So the reason why I'm kind of leaning towards tracking your veggies, right, is because there's a few things going on here. If you're not tracking your veggies, you're not really exactly sure how many calories you're getting, right? It also starts to create this dieting mental approach where you always plan to eat a ton of vegetables, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But there is such a thing as too much fiber, and vegetables can be really slow digesting. And if you're in a fat loss phase, as we all know, the metabolism adapts. It slows down. It becomes more efficient at extracting calories from your food. When that happens and you're taking in lots of vegetables, the slowing down of the digestive system keeps the vegetables in the stomach longer, in the intestines longer, and when they're in the intestines, they can actually ferment, creating a lot of gas and bloating. I get a lot of complaints from clients, Coach, by the end of the day, I'm all bloated and gassy and then I wake up fine. Well, that's because you've been consuming all these vegetables with an adapted metabolism, and here we start to get some digestive issues. That can also lead to some poor nutrient uptake, which can impact our training, our recovery, a whole myriad of things. Now, I'm not an expert on all that and all the specifics, but what I like to do is track for my clients. I suggest tracking, and here's why. Because if something's going on with my clients, this is the first thing I say. Send me your food journal. I just want to look at it. Send me what you eat for 2-3 days. I want to see. And if I start to notice a lot of veggies with every meal, we're talking like, you know, things that are really hard to digest, like broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, we're talking about cauliflower, maybe some Brussels sprouts, things that really can, you know, be tough to break down. They're great for volume. They feel great because you feel satiated. You almost can't eat anymore. But then they can also create some of these digestive issues that I'm talking about. So I don't want people to get into, you know, just because they're technically a cleaner food, you can still get into some bad habits with them. So that's why I suggest tracking. That's why now, when would I lean towards not tracking? For most people, when you get to a calorie range where you can kind of track but not all the time, you have a skill that you've learned through dieting, through tracking for a while, you can kind of eyeball things a little bit better. For myself now, I won't really pay attention too much to the veggies in a meal. When I'm in prep, I will chop up my veggies, weigh them before I eat them. Now, kind of just eyeball them and say, it looks like about 5 grams of carbs, right? Because I kind of know what's going on because I have a skill. So it depends where you're at. Now, if you're in your improvement season, carbohydrates, calories are a little bit higher. Yeah, I'm not saying you need to weigh everything out. I'm not saying you need to weigh everything out all the time. It depends where you're at. If you just did a show and you got another show in 6 weeks and we're on that really tight reverse, or you got one in 12 weeks and we're on a really tight reverse where we're just kind of gradually adding calories, you gotta stay strict. So I would lean more towards the tracking. If it's gonna be a year or two before you do a show, leaning more towards not the tracking, especially if you've got the skills. So that's where I kind of suggest to my clients, friends, anyone that asks me, should I be tracking my veggies? Are veggies, they're not 0 calorie. They definitely have an impact on body fat, body composition, digestion, a lot of things. So it's just another form of data if you're tracking. And if you're serious about what you're doing, don't take shortcuts. How you do anything is how you do everything. So that's it. It just comes down to where you're at. Sometimes track, sometimes don't track. It's Wednesday. I'm gonna go back to work. I'm gonna put this video out for you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it. I will, if you wanna follow my Instagram stories, I'll keep up with anything that's going on as far as the storm is concerned. And we'll just go from there. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.